Welcome back to the Cozy Rosy Crochet channel. Today I'm sharing with you a little bit more pattern inspiration, this time in the format of granny square bags. I am very passionate about granny squares, mainly because they are a great introductory project for beginners, but the way that they can be used to create pretty much anything is pretty fascinating to me, and I wanted to share some projects that don't feel quite as overwhelming as a granny square blanket or a granny square cardigan, where you feel like you're having to make endless crochet granny squares before you get a finished project. Over the course of today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you probably 15 different granny square bag projects that you can start today and pretty much finish by tomorrow. That's always a joy for me. Nice, quick crochet projects that you can stitch up and feel proud about in the next 2 days. Now, before we get started, I would like to reintroduce myself in case you are new to the channel. My name is Fiona and I'm the designer behind Cozy Rosy UK and the face and hands behind Cozy Rosy Crochet, this channel here on YouTube. In case you are wondering what I am wearing, this is the Strawberry Sunday hexagon granny cardigan, and it's launching very soon right here on this channel. It's going to be released in a few sections because it's quite a large pattern, and I'm really excited to share each step with you so you too can create something as bold and bright as this, or something a little less impactful when it comes to the colour. I am a huge fan of the granny stitch, that 3 double crochet all worked into the same stitch or chain space, and it of course does feature in this pattern. But there are also some extra stitches in here too to mix up the texture that is seen in those traditional granny hexes. I won't harp on about this pattern just yet, just know that it's launching very soon right here on this channel. Let's jump into the wonderful world of granny square bags because it's quite a wide topic. The different variations that you can find now to stitch up using just a humble granny square is pretty phenomenal, and I'm sharing with you lots of different kind of variations of how you can join your squares today as well to create different shapes and formats of your finished bags. Crochet granny squares are ever popular, mainly because they are a quick crochet project and because they are suitable for all levels. I think the joy of making a more complex granny square multiple times and joining them together means that those slightly more advanced stitch patterns can feel more accessible to those who are learning the craft and kind of diving into all the different types of stitch patterns available out there. And you only need, well, the number of squares that you need for a kind of granny square bag can vary depending on the type of bag. You're going to see one of the patterns I'm sharing with you later on in the video uses just 2 squares, but they're nice and big to create a very simple granny square with a great look and style. I'm going to try and keep this short and sweet for you so that you can just get on and get stitching, and you can find all the individual links to these patterns in the order that I'm sharing with you today over on the website. But do hang on all the way to the end because I'm saving the best till last, because why not? So I'm going to be starting today's video with one of the favourite bags that I saw when I was gathering these all up together. It's by Joe to the World, and it is basically a striped granny square bag. I love how modern this granny square bag looks. It doesn't have that traditional look, although it's using the ever popular tilting the squares to create diamonds. The use of the colour and the stripes really creates a very modern bag. Absolutely love this design. The second bag that I'm sharing with you also has those squares tilted to be into diamonds. This bag is the Crochet Flower Bag by Selena Veronique. I'm not sure if I'm saying that and putting too much of an emphasis on her name, but it's a beautiful name. And this granny square bag, I love anything with flowers on it. Again, it's using those squares tilted into a diamond, but the lighter colours makes it an absolute perfect kind of summer bag. I really love this technique of turning the squares to create diamonds, and I used the similar technique in my granny skirt in a twist pattern where you're joining those squares on a diagonal. It makes the maths a little bit more complicated when you're calculating the length, but it does mean that you've got a more interesting look in both bags, garments and accessories. The difference is with these bags that they are of course joined with all squares at the top, so you get that really nice shaped edge, whereas with the skirt that I created you've got triangles to fill in those spaces, give you a nice kind of waistband. I think it would look quite nice to create a bag in the same context as well. Very selfishly, I'm taking a moment just to sing my own praises and sharing one of my first granny square projects. I love granny squares. I don't like making lots of them. For me to make 18 to create this running rings square bag was quite a lot, and I think I actually made it way back in 2021. This pattern is now available to view for free over on my website, but it is using a bit of a unique handle. So I found these beautiful handles over on Etsy a long time ago, and I've bought from this shop quite a few times because they really are wonderful. The selection they have is quite interesting. The yarn that I used for my own Running Rings bag is the same yarn I'm wearing in this cardigan, which is the Stylecraft Naturals Bamboo Cotton, or Cotton Bamboo. And I chose bamboo handles to go with the bag, just to kind of tie in all the different fibres that we used. And I think it worked out really, really well. And it's nice and simple to join these squares. It's just a US single crochet join in those nice straight lines. No confusion about how you're joining those ones on the bias, although they are easy enough to join. Now, something that is really popular to make and stitch up and wear, I see them absolutely everywhere now, are, let's call them crossbody bags, because I don't know if I'm allowed to say what they're actually called. Obviously, I'm in the UK, so I only use one term and it begins with a B. I certainly don't use the American term for it because it means something completely different. Even as a child of the 80s, we laughed hysterically whenever someone talked about those types of bags on TV shows. So I can't say the word, I'm sorry. But this is the bag. This is the bag, and they are incredibly popular and really easy to make because they only use maybe 3 or 6 squares to create this crossbody bag. You don't have to crochet your own handle. A lot of the designers that make these take you through how to create your own handles with them as well, which I think is really useful. This one from Nikki's Handmade Crafts uses 4 squares. She shows you how to line it and of course how to put a zipper in it as well. So the tutorial for this pattern takes you through how to add the zip, how to line it. So there's lots of different techniques to learn as you're making that crossbody bag. We need to have a special mention for this bag because it really kind of affirms what I was saying about how granny squares can be a bit of a gateway into more complicated stitch patterns. I love working in the round, and granny squares are a great way to practice more advanced stitch patterns without having to focus too much, because obviously you're only working one side of a square. So you get to practice the stitch pattern as it grows, and it's really clever how some of these motifs do grow. Motif Market Bag is by A Crocheted Simplicity, and it is a beautiful square. The lacy look gives it a bit of a luxurious look, but it's got a nice practical use, and I think that's always great when it comes to different crochet projects. I don't like to be too precious. I really do like to actually use what I make, such as cardigans and bags. So I think making something so beautiful that you can use every day because it's just made from cotton yarn is a really nice way to use the crochet that we make. So yeah, A Crocheted Simplicity, this to me is near perfection when it comes to making granny square bags. The next bag I'm highlighting is the Harmony bag by Me and My Hook by the great Bernadine, my very good friend, who I am seeing next week. Very excited about that. We're going together to the Wool Monty. She has a stand there and I'm going to support her. I can't wait to share some behind the scenes all about that weekend away with you. But a Harmony bag uses her Harmony square, and I love the fact that there's a lot of detail within the square, and the use of colour means that you can kind of really personalise the bag. It seems to have a rounder shape than many of the bias bags, as I'm now calling them. So instead of just, there's diamonds, and then she's managed to create a rounder shape at the bottom, so it gives you a deeper base of the bag where we need it, and nice and slender at the top into a beautiful braided handle. The next bag that I'm sharing with you was nearly saved till last, but I needed to share with it quite early on in the video because it is really worth a mention. It's absolutely beautiful. So Kirsten Holloway Designs, this is her crossbody tote bag, and she's calling it a messenger style because it does have a closure. The majority of granny square bags either rely on a zipper or, well, in this case Kirsten's used a beautiful buckle and some of the most textured squares. This is only using 3 squares to create this shape. You've got one folded, and 2 at the side, and it makes that beautiful deep kind of triangle to fit everything you need. I just love the texture in this square, and I think it's worth making. But the technique to make the buckle is quite unique. It's a nice wide buckle as well. We're back to my new favourite designer, which is Jo to the World, with her very own flower granny square bag. This to me is possibly the bag the style of bag you see pretty much everywhere. The use of colour, and I need to confirm which yarn she's used. Maybe it's, I don't know, but it's beautiful. I love the fact that this daisy flower really is highlighted by the green, followed by a solid colour for the join and the edging and the handle. I think it really makes it pop. I have seen people make these bags in an acrylic yarn, and you just don't get this finish on a bag when making it with acrylic. It doesn't happen. The acrylic can be too fluffy, so you don't get that crisp look to your stitches. So if you found, I made one of those but it didn't look like that, try making it in a cotton or a cotton blend, and the finished look will be at least 50% better. So that was Jo to the World. I have to reiterate, I don't know if I said that earlier. I love it, absolutely love it. I think the purple really lets that white pop, definitely. I've got a bit of an honorary mention because the next two bags that I'm sharing with you are not 100% granny squares. And I think that's important because granny squares, for the majority of us, are popular because they're kind of cute. We like them, they're traditional, and they're a nod to where we started. If we've been in our crochet journey for a while and been learning for a while, it's nice to remember where we started. And this Starburst Granny phone sling is an ideal way to use one or two squares on, like, embroidered or sewn onto a different pattern to really sing the praises to the squares that we love. The colour choice and obviously the photo background match so well that it just sings to me. And I can picture myself so clearly wandering down a sun-drenched street in the Mediterranean with my phone in my little phone sling and just a great bright granny square wedged onto the front, just making it pop. I love it. So you can find that pattern along with all the others linked in the description box below. So the second pattern that uses granny squares as part of the design is the Endless Summon tote bag, and that's by I Love Knots. This is, I think it was I can't remember what the flower was called. I'm so bad at flower names, but it's one of her flower squares that she's used all the way along the bottom, integrated into building the structure of the bag. So you've got the base of the bag, the beautiful flower squares going around, and then nice single crochet or UK doubles, just building up the height of the bag that you want. So it makes it even more customizable as well, but you've still got those beautiful granny squares as featuring in that pattern. So the next pattern that I'm featuring is the Granny Merge bag by Me and My Hook, Bernadine, once again, and it uses just two large granny squares. This means that you can work these up in one sitting. There's going to be less ends to weave in. And of course, it means that you've got a quick project. The handles that she's used look really stable. And I think you could add more stability to the bag, just putting a slip liner in there. But it makes a perfect market bag for you to just sling over your shoulder, shove everything you need in. The simplicity of the project means that you can stitch it up quickly, get it finished, which is the all-important bit, and be taking that bag to market in next to no time at all. I love the fact that we don't have to make lots and lots of granny squares, much like the Granny Merge market bag that I've just shown you. Here we have the Granny Heart square bag by Lisa Oche. I would say Oche. Yeah, Lisa Oche Crochet. I'm trying to remember how I could pronounce that. I'm not very good with pronunciations. The Granny Heart square bag uses just 8 squares, and they have that beautiful little heart motif inside, and I think it gives it another different look for what could be almost considered a simple bag, but it is worked in this case in black yarn, which is not everybody's favourite, but it really makes those pink hearts pop, and I think the colour choice here is just beautiful. You know, we don't have to always be making big bags. They can be petite and pretty and actually be very functional as well, and I think granny squares are great for that. So speaking about petite, we have the drawstring bag from Banana Moon Studios. They've taken 2 granny squares, joined them and added a little drawstring, and what I love is that this could be used to kind of put inside some little special gifts and add that handmade touch to what could be a very beautiful gift. I'd be very pleased to receive something wrapped in some granny squares, most definitely. And again, it doesn't have to be overly complicated. You could swap out that traditional square for one of your own favourite squares that you like stitching, or you could just keep it simple with the traditional square and make those colours do the talking. The final pattern that I'm sharing with you today is the fun Granny Square bag by Annie Designs Crochet, and it is a bold and beautiful pattern. It caught my eye instantly, and I feel like I've saved the best till last because it's those colours that grab me. I think with a lot of our crochet projects, this cardigan included, when we're making for ourselves, we can go bold. And that's one of the things I love about making scrap projects, is you can just combine multiple colours. And the clever way that this bag ties all of those different colours together is the way that the side, base and other side panel all ties in all of those different colours. It's such a clever design. I absolutely love that design. You can find all of the patterns that I've shared with you today, along with a couple of extras, all linked on the page in my website that I've shared in the description box below. Before I go, don't forget to let me know in the comments which Granny Square bag that you're going to be stitching up next. And thank you so much for joining me today. A huge thank you to all the designers who have allowed me to share these patterns with you, and I will see you in the next video.